Yesterday we're talking about East Ages history. All right, Hannah, you're raising hand. You want to say something before I start?
Miss Nano's telling you, can you let her in
I
only?
just let her in.
Okay.
Okay. The history of East Asia. Okay, at the beginning, I told you to tell me what's the definition of a dynasty. Who can tell me the definition of a dynasty? Judy, go ahead.
Oh, a line of rulers that is held by a family, yani one of the elders, for a long time.
Yes, actually, it's a line of rulers from one single family that holds the power for a long time. And usually, who holds the power will be the head of the family. Okay, we said, how did a new dynasty form? How did a new dynasty form in China? Reem?
A new leader would start a new dynasty.
Yes, a new line of ruler or a new leader will start a new dynasty. But what happens to the old one?
Until the power is overthrown, a new leader will take the dynasty. So
Yes,
the other one
yes, thank you
family
very much. We said that China was kept away from foreign invaders by two features, physical features and human features. Who can tell me what are the physical features that have helped China to be kept away from foreign invaders? Kinsey,
Miss, do you want the physical or the human?
the physical at the beginning.
What?
The physical.
The nature bears such as the sea, the mountain, and the deserts.
Yes, can you give me an example of a sea?
Hmm?
Can you give me example of the sea that was protecting China?
The Yellow Sea
Yes,
in
thank
the
you very
east, they
much.
present in the west.
Thank you very much. Hannah Durgam, tell me about the physical features.
A Great Wall.
Yes, the Great Wall, China was protecting the city, and it's still there. They're protecting the city till today. Thank you very much. Who can tell me what kind of we had like three major belief system in China? They were very important. Who can tell me the names of the three systems and what did they believe in? Maya?
Confucius.
Yes. And they believed in
Well,
the Confucianism.
okay.
B-
He believed. He thought that people should be morally good. He also believed that a ruler should lead his people.
Yes. So they believed in the importance of the family.
Ah,
The second one
say the
was
second. Um, Loha, Lozi,
yes,
Lozi.
Loazi.
He founded an important belief a system called Daoism.
Thank you very much. And the last one, Yamaya,
Um, last one, Buddhism.
Buddhism, and it believed in
It was brought by the Han Dynasty.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes, and it was coming originally from which country?
sorry, India.
From India. Thank you very much. Yes. So then we moved that we had several inventions, but I would like to shed lights for the most important invention in China. What was the most important invention? Okay, Reem,
printing.
before printing, we had something very important in order to keep record
Making
of,
paper.
yes, inventing the paper. Okay, and it was used to kept paper records of the kingdom. Also, we had very important road for trade. What was the name of this road? Durgam?
Silk Road.
Yes. What kind of goods were exchanged over the Silk Roads? Who can tell me what kind of goods were exchanged over the Silk Road? Reem,
They send silk and tea and spices, and they exchange it for wool, gold, and silver.
thank you very much. Let's move to talk about the inventions that were there, or the most three inventions were at this era. Who can tell me the first Chinese invention? Kinsey?
The printing made the books faster and easier.
Yes, thank you very much. Hannah Hamdi, the second one.
Gunpowder, it was used in explosives and fireworks.
Thank you, Hannah. And the last one, Judy.
The magnetic compass helped the sailors find direction at sea.
Okay. After that, we said that Korea was settled by people from northern Asia in the year of 12,000. There was people called the Mongols invaded China and Korea. They were driven out of the end by the year of 1300, and a new Korean dynasty came to power. So, how did the new dynasty came to power? The Korean dynasty after the Mongols people came and invaded China. So they were driven out of the end of the power until the modern times. So after the Chinese came into the power, the Korean came into power. After that, in the year of 300, Buddhism spread to Korea from China. Later, the Confucianism became the major religion of the country. Korean writing was used. Chinese characters and Korean artists were writers were inspired by Chinese art and literature. Okay. So how did Buddhism spread across the East Asia? How did Buddhism?
So can you switch the slides because يعني كده مش هننفع
I said open your practice book, page 163. Did you attend the last session?
yes أعتقد.
Open your book, page 163. I guess it's different for me from you. Maybe it's 39.
So you mean the practice book?
39 في practice book.
39 in the practice book. Yeah.
practice هو
Yeah.
ال
Practice.
163 ده history of religion مش
Okay, it's different. My book is different from yours. So open 39. So I begin again from the part after the inventions were all invented. We move to Korea. I'm gonna ask you again. Korea was settled by people from the northern Asia in the year of 1200. Mongols invaded China and Korea. They were driven out of the end of the 1300, and a new Korean dynasty came to power. So how did a new Korean dynasty came to power? How did a new Korean dynasty came to power?
they were driven out at the end of the 13th.
Yes. After Mongols, people have invaded China. Thank you, Fadia. So then there was another, the Buddhism religion was spreading across East Asia. Who can check and tell me how did the Buddhism spread across East Asia? Nano? How did Buddhism spread across East Asia? You'll find it under the table of the Chinese inventions. You'll find how did the Buddhism spread across East Asia. Kinsey?
Buddhism was spread from China to Korea.
Yes. After the Mongols have invaded China, it was coming from China to Korea. Yes,
Miss my
yeah.
lagging so I couldn't see.
Okay, no problem. Yes, Yarim,
Yes.
you want to answer the question again?
Mackenzie answers, I think.
Please say it again.
Okay, the Buddhism spread to Korea from China.
Yes, Buddhism spread to Korea from China. Later, also, the Confucianism has become the major religion of the area. طيب, there is another question. Tell me what happened when Korean writing was used. What are the ways in China was influenced? We said that Korean. We said that the Korean writing was influenced or was spreading. What did it convey to others? Yes, you, Judy.
بس هو when you said يعني when you said convey يعني you mean what they used يعني ولا what يعني it did for them.
How did they use? How did they use the writing?
How did they use it out?
Yes.
Okay, it was used. It's used Chinese characters, Korean artists, and was inspired by Chinese art and literature.
Yes.
Uh,
Also, after that, the Korean rules adopted the Confucianism as a basic of the government. In some periods, China provided military protection, but in others, Koreans feared Chinese invasion. So China at the beginning has helped Korea in order to has its culture and its civilization, but Korean people were afraid that China would invade the country or take over the country. Let me ask you another question. What are some ways in which China influenced Japan? Check the last five lines in the book and tell me how did China, or in some ways, how did China influence Japan? Yes, yeah, Judy.
okay. The ideas and cultures that from China transformed to Japan, and
Yes.
the Japanese used the Chinese calendars and the Chinese writing system.
Yes.
They also adopted the Chinese technology
Mhm.
and برضه Buddhism ده اللي هو البelief ده
Yes.
spread to Japan from Korea. And
Yes.
it was uh,
It was mixed with.
a Japanese religion called Shinto.
Yes. So there was a huge influence from China to Japan. Actually, the Japanese islands were settled by people from Korea and China. So at the beginning, when they discovered the Japanese islands, people from China and from Korea settled there. And it has close ties with China, which led to flows of ideas and culture, which transformed to Japan. So the ideas and the culture of China has transformed to Japan after people has settled down there. The Japanese used Chinese calendar, Chinese system of writing. They also adopted the Chinese technology. Buddhism as a belief or as a religion spread there from Korea. Also, they have mixed Japanese religion called Shinto. So Buddhism is a kind of belief or religion, and they have a drift from it or a tributary from it, which is mixed with Japanese religion called Shinto. This was most of the influence. Japan was at this time ruled by emperors, but over time they began to lose the power and land downing. Families set up a feudal system. Under this system, nobles gave land to lesser nobles. يبقى what was this system that was in Japan at the beginning? Japan had an emperor system. Emperor was the ruler of the region, but over time they began to lose the power, and the land owning families set a feudal system to give the under system nobles their lands or part of their lands. طيب, why did they give the nobles land? They give them land in exchange of military service. So the noblemen had the land, and they give to lesser people some or parts of this land in order to give them part of the military system or to protect them. At the bottom of the social ladder or the social class, there were protection. There were the peasants. Peasants are farmers who farmed nobles' estate in exchange of the protection. But by the year of 1100, a military leader called Shogun held the real power in Japan. He was supported by land owning warriors called samurai. So, again, here at this part, he was talking about the classes in Japan. What kind of classes in the society of Japan? The first one or the first class in Japan was the emperor. The emperor was ruling the region. comes under the emperor, the noblemen. Noblemen had land, but they didn't had the power to protect this land. So they give the lands, or the noblemen give the land under a system called the feudal system. They give the land to lesser people. These people will take land in exchange of military service. And at the bottom of this ladder, or this social ladder or class, there was the peasants. Peasants are farmer who farmed the noble lands or the noble estates, and also exchange of protection. Okay? Who can tell me what are the classes in the Japanese society? Tell me the three classes of the Japanese society. Reem?
First was the emperor, he's the one who ruled the land.
Yes.
Then we have the nobles who had lands, but they don't have the power to
To
rule it.
protect it. Yeah.
Yes. Then we have the feudal system. They
Feudal system is not part of the classes. It's a system was meant or invented in order to the noblemen will give land for lesser people to give them protection in exchange of military service. Okay, so lesser people will be who the people who will be working in the army to protect the nobles. Then at the end comes
we
the
have the peasants.
sorry.
The peasants who farmed the
Yes.
nobles for exchange for protection.
Yes. So this was all about the classes of the Japanese society. Okay, there was at the end, what is the relationship between samurai and shogun? Who can tell me what's the relationship between samurai and the shogun? Nano?
ثانية واحدة.
Yes.
A military by the 1100s, a military leader called the shogun held the real power in Japan. He was supported by land-owning warriors called samurai.
So this is the relationship. Actually, in the year of 1100, a military leader whose name was Shogun. Shogun held the real power in Japan. He was holding the power in Japan, and he was supported by the land-owning warriors called samurai. Okay, so samurai has actually a history. That's it for this part. Let me revise from the beginning. I will stop at this part, the part of the samurai. Let me start from the beginning. I said today, we talked today about the Korean people. How did Koreans settle there? They came from where and they settled where? Who can tell me about the Korean people? Yes, Hannah Durgam.
Korea was settled by people from the northern Asia.
Yes, Northern Asia, and the Mongols invaded China and Korea. So they were driven at the end of a new Korean dynasty. So here came a new Korean dynasty to the power. Okay, now what happened when Korean people came? What did they do? Nano.
What was the question, you miss?
Again, when Korean people came, what did they use from the Chinese culture? What kind of belief did they believe in? Hmm.
ثانية واحدة. لا يا miss, I don't know.
It's
بس
okay.
تقدري repeat the question بس عشان نسيت.
Again, when Korean people came, at the beginning, Confucianism became the major religion of Korea, right? Then the Korean came and did this. What kind of, or what part of the culture did you use from China? Their writing, their acting, what kind? Maya?
They use the Chinese calendar and the Chinese system of writing.
Mm-hmm.
They also adopted the Chinese technology and Buddhism. The Buddhism spread to the islands from Korea and mixed with the Shinto, which is a Japanese religion.
This is their influence on the Japanese. But at the beginning, Korean came and used writing, used a Chinese character, and yes, a Korean artists were writers inspired by Chinese art and literature. Okay, this is at the beginning. But the last part concerning Japan. Then what ways did, in which ways would China influence Japan? This is the part we're talking about. The Japanese island were settled by people from Korea also and China. So they had close ties with China and they started to affect China started to affect Japan. How did China affect Japan? Hannah Durgam,
uh,
in what ways did China influence Japan?
ماشي. Use the Chinese calendar
Yes.
and the Chinese system of writing.
Mhm.
They adopted Chinese technology,
Yes.
and
And
it
at
has
the end, the religion was mixed with the
a Japanese religion called Shinto.
Shinto. Thank you very much. Okay.
Miss, I have a question.
طب can you give to the end يا جودي؟ بس I
Oh,
revise the last part then I let you ask. طب
okay.
Japan had a system. What kind of system did Japan had? A class system or social system or social class? You know that every country has its own social system. Yes يا جودي.
First class was the emperors.
Yes.
Emperor. They lost their power and their land owning that families set up a feudal system.
Yes. In
يعني
order.
بي...
Yes. Yes. In order not to lose their power, they have set up the feudal system. What's meant by feudal system or what does it entail?
No, I don't know.
Okay, who can tell me about the feudal system? Feudal system, what does it entail? You give what in exchange of what?
How can I
Yes, I remember. Okay.
يعني مش
Mm.
the nobles مثلا they give
Yes, part of their lands.
part of the lands in exchange for their loyalty and military service.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's it. They give part of their land in order or exchange of military service or loyalty. Okay. At the bottom of the social ladder or the social system, there were the.
برضو مين؟
Yes, okay.
The peasants
Yes.
who farm noble estates in exchange for protection.
Yes. Okay. And the last part was the relationship between samurai and shogun. The relationship between samurai and the shogun. Who can tell me? Hmm. The last part. What's the relationship between shogun and the samurai? Reem.
Um, a military leader called Shogun held
Yes.
the real power in Japan,
Hmm?
and he was supported by land-owning warriors called samurai.
Called the samurai. Okay. I'd like you for the next session to read the rest of the lesson, to be prepared, and we're going to be continuing this part next session, inshallah. Jude, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yes, about the Buddhism, how did it spread across the